Hello, everyone. Welcome to the brand new season of Personality Development Podcast. We do hear a lot of things in our day to day lives. Some people say, don't be busy, be productive. Some would say, time is a non renewable resource to us. Use it wisely. And I do agree to all of it. But the problem is that productivity does not have any sort of manual. So, how do we know how to be productive? In this season, we are going to talk about productivity. And in this wonderful journey of being more productive, we have a guest for the entire season. And you already know her. She has been here on this podcast before. And she has also taken this wonderful live session for the podcast listeners on how to crack interview. But hey, before diving in this introductory episode, I want to tell you that now even you can ask questions to the guest of this show by joining this podcast's community. So, intro music is going to play now. In that time, you click on the link in the description and join the community, and I'll go get the guest of today's episode. Here we go. Hello and welcome back to this introductory episode of the new season, and that is Boost Your Productivity. And joining us in this amazing season, we have a person who is passionate about helping others develop their soft skills and interpersonal capabilities for an enhanced and optimized workplace environment. Her work as a career coach has enabled so many people to discover their career passions, and it is still counting rapidly. So please allow me to welcome one more time on this podcast, Elena Pastore. Hello, Elena. How are you doing? It's so good to see you after so long.
I know. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. There are lots and lots of new things which are happening, but we can talk
Yeah.
about it later. Uh, I mean, it's just wonderful to see you in this episode specifically because productivity is itself a vast topic, and the only person which came in my mind for this season was you because I thought Alina can talk about anything. So let's invite
Yeah.
her on this show. And here you are. I'm really glad that you accepted that, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be an amazing season. So, welcome back to the podcast again, and it's just wonderful to have you over here. Moving along, many people already know about you because you have been here on the podcast, and I also gave a short and crisp introduction. But still,
Mhm.
if you would like to give quick, brief introduction about yourself, that would be amazing.
Of course. Hi, everyone. It's great for you to be here with me again. My name is Elena Pastore, and I am a leadership and career coach. And over the years, from what I've learned about business and productivity and working with clients, is that everything really starts with mindset and how you view your goal or problem that's in front of you, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I believe that every goal, every aspiration that people have is always possible and capable to achieve, whatever it may be, no matter how daunting. And in my coaching and the way that I work with my clients is creating practical and tangible steps to help them achieve that career or professional goal.
Well, that's a wonderful introduction, Alina. I mean, I must say
Thanks.
that's the most unique way to give an introduction, and I'm going to use that for
Yeah.
my introduction as well. Of course, without giving any sort of royalty, but I'm still going to use it. Anyways,
Yeah.
yes. So diving straight into the episode, Alina, and as I've told you that many people have their own perspective about productivity. Okay.
Hmm.
So some would say that every day make a to-do list and you are good to go and you will achieve productivity. Many people say that you have to set your priorities and then go ahead and do your work and you will have a good productivity. Then many people would say, you know what, do meditation in the morning and which will help you focus more, and that's how you're gonna become good in productivity. So what's your idea of productivity, and what's productivity according to you?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I feel that I've really changed my thoughts and opinions on this topic over the last couple of years drastically. So I used to view productivity as always or continuously or for as much time of the day as you can be doing things that make progress towards your goal, right?
Right.
So, what are the things you need to do to get to your goal? And do those things for as much of the day, every day, as you possibly can. Of course, while eating and, all that stuff, but right? Spending most of your hours progressing towards that goal. Because I thought of it as I'm always doing something, I'm always being productive, right?
Hmm.
And that's how I viewed it. And now, 2 to 3 years later, 2.5 years later now, today, I don't view it as that anymore. I now realize that that view of it was rooted from a scarcity mindset perspective, meaning that time is limited.
Hmm.
So you're not making the best use of it unless you use every second.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't believe that anymore. Now I believe that productivity is different for each person and how you achieve it. So you mentioned meditation, making a to-do list, right? Those are different examples. And I believe that one person might need meditation and one person might need a to-do list. One person might need both and another person might need neither. They might need something totally different. I think it's all about getting into the state, the mental state of motivation, inspiration, engagement, fulfillment, wanting to take action, right? It's about getting into that state and a state where it's going to be sustained and prolonged rather than a state of motivation or inspiration for an hour or for 5 minutes. And so when you do the things to rest, fuel, recharge, right, stimulate in a sustainable way, you can be most productive, even if it's within less time, because you're not looking at it from a time perspective. You're looking at it from an optimal performance perspective.
Wow. That's a great shift of thinking, I would say.
Hmm.
I mean, being a person who would say to use every second of the time, to the person who have completely changed the mindset and have made sure that performance is what productivity, rather than using every
Hmm.
second of the time is more important. I'm really curious about it. What made this shift? I mean, you said it has been 2.5 years, and it was a process, of course, that changed this mindset. But was it also a particular time where you realized that, okay, I need to change my mindset now. I need to change my mindset, and I have to think more about it. And then you got to it. How did you got to this? That's what my question is.
Yeah, that's a great question. And there were really two main things. The first thing is that that was my mindset in the beginning of starting my business and working for myself. And I did have
Mhm.
that mindset about other things before that, that I was in charge of, or initiatives that, were my responsibility. I had
Right.
that mindset as well. But when you work for yourself, it's a little different. So over time, as I started to get more comfortable in my business, more confidence, more security in the stream of income and the consistent client base, naturally, I just kind of said, okay, I can let go a little more and a little more and a little more. So just really just with my own professional growth. But the thing that really was the more groundbreaking, lasting change for my mindset there was going through this exercise called a breakthrough session. And in that breakthrough session, it's 8 to 10 hours. And it's a process through which you can rewire the brain and the programming of the brain because of the brain's neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is essentially the idea that we can learn, we always do learn things, and we can also unlearn things and change our patterns and behaviors and awareness at a scientific neurological level. So
Wow.
I may have not totally scientifically explained that correctly, but if you look up neuroplasticity, you will see that. So it's a technique that speaks to the neuroplasticity that allows you to really, really change at the deepest possible psychological level.
Wow, I have heard this term honestly, and I have looked out. I'm reading a book nowadays. It's Limitless by Jim Quick, and
Uh-huh.
there is a process, and he has explained that in the book as well, very beautifully. And I do talk about this book and the various ideas which this gives in my community as well.
Mm.
So I completely get it. This particular process of neuroplasticity is completely amazing, and it gives a lot of insights on how brain works and how you can improve your performance at a very good level. So, audience, if you don't want to read a book, you can join the community. But I would really recommend you to read this amazing book and read about this process as well. It's really a game-changing process which you should be taking on. So it's a great thing. So thank you so much, Alina, for putting that out. It's really amazing. However, moving ahead, there is one more question related to workplace nowadays. Okay, because handling productivity at a workplace, because nowadays when you have your own business, it's somewhere it is easy to take a break and recharge yourself and refuel yourself. It's pretty simple. Uh, Especially might be in United States as well. I don't know exactly what happens there, but they will be allowed to take a break as well. But especially in India, what happens is that people don't get much holidays, honestly. Okay, and they kind of they can't go on holidays for very long. It's maybe around 7 or 8 days maximum, and that too
Mm.
in 5 or 6 months gap as well. Uh, and apart from that, what happens is, we all try to be productive throughout the day as well. Day matters as well. Especially those who are working, doing jobs, they can completely relate to this. So what happens over here is there are constant meetings, okay, like, and there is no end to it. Okay, so I will
Mm.
just illustrate my work over here. So what happens is I have a meeting at morning 10 a.m., then at 12 p.m. in the afternoon, then at 1 p.m. again, and then again at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So there are multiple meetings, and because of those meetings, what happened is that I have to focus in that meeting because there are some important stuff that we are talking about. And then what happens is that we have to stay late because the work isn't completed because of the meetings which we attended. What productivity tip which you would like to give over here, which can really improve the productivity of the individuals who are doing jobs like this?
Yeah, that's tough because there definitely is a certain point where you've reached exhaustion
Yeah.
and you need to do something to recharge in order to be productive. So, I would say just like I said in the beginning, just think back to what are what are some things that get you to feel productive or to feel motivated or to feel inspired? And if it's meditation, can you shut your eyes for 1 minute or 2 minutes? Even go to the bathroom and, just take a minute to yourself. So you may not be able to do those practices in the normal way that you would, or to the normal length or the normal quality.
Right.
But just think about what's the one thing that you can do to just give yourself a little burst of energy.
Right. That's a wonderful thing which you said over there. And audience, as I always say in each and every episode, I am hoping that you are sitting with a book and a pen, because these are some important tips, and I wouldn't want you to miss these tips out. You can listen to the podcast 2 or 3 times. That would make me happy. But I would really appreciate if you're sitting with a book and a pen and writing these down, and think about personality development podcast while you are reading it. So make sure to do that. And Elena, these are some that was a great tip as well, because we do have access to bathrooms in each and every offices, and I'm pretty sure people can do that. It's quite simple to do it as well. And normally, I guess, 1 or 2 deep breaths can also help out. And also, people can listen to music, like they can just go for a walk and then come back, and they might feel refueled, so that's a great tip which you gave there. And personally, I'm writing it down, and I'm going to use it tomorrow when I go to office. So thank you so much for sharing that. And there is one more thing in the workplace environment specifically. It hasn't happened with me, but I'm pretty sure it happens with most of the people out there on the job, on the workplace, and that is known as interrupts. Okay, so I'll explain what
Mm.
interrupts are. In a technological language, when we talk about interrupts, so a computer or a machine is doing some task, and then suddenly the most important priority task comes into the picture, and a machine has to drop that the existing task, and it has to take another task because it's the top priority task. So that is something which is known as interrupt in a technological language. Okay, so when these interrupts comes, okay, it suddenly breaks the flow of thoughts in our minds, a flow of something which we are doing, a focus on something which we are doing, and suddenly we have to do something else, and that becomes more difficult to, achieve, because now this thing is a priority and now previous thing has to wait. So during these times, what happens is we lose focus, we lose motivation as well, because we have been working so hard for the previous thing, and now we have to work for this thing with the same energy as well. What would you like to say about that?
Yeah, so I would say the first question I would ask someone in response to this is, how frequent are these interrupts happening? Is it multiple times a day? Is it once a week?
Well, it's every day. You can say 6 times in a week, or maybe 5 times, those who have Saturday, Sundays as holidays.
Okay. So, you know, I would say if there's any degree to which you can control them, or to say, you know, whether this interrupt is technology, like you said, or whether it's a person coming and interrupting you, you would have a little bit more control maybe if it's a person.
Right.
So just using, interrupt as I guess, a little bit of a metaphor. If it is a person, then I would say if you can control part of your day or part of your schedule and say, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., no interrupts, right? If you do have
Okay.
that flexibility to say it so that you know that the most important thing in your day, you can have that time every day. Or
Right.
maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's just 30 minutes. And if it is technology, then maybe you can block notifications. Again, if that's an option, if you do have that control. So, first, I would say see what you have control over, even if it's a little bit, but if it'll help make that difference when you know you can rely on that time for uninterrupted focus.
Right.
If you don't have control over it and it's just going to be there when it wants to be there and there's nothing you can do, I would say to change your mindset and perspective about these interrupts. So when I think of the word interrupt in general, typically it's something that is an unexpected thing
Hmm.
that presents itself to you. And so if you know that this happens once a day or 6 times a week, you can begin to expect it to some degree so that you're not as caught off guard when it does happen.
Hmm.
Because the biggest element of being thrown off or when our focus shifts is when we have something unexpected pop up. But if you can start to expect it, you can be more prepared to handle the interrupt
Hmm.
and to respond to it in a more calm way.
Wow, that's a pretty smart thing to say, and I really appreciate that. If we expect things, it's a piece of cake for us, but when something comes unexpectedly, it really it takes a hit on us really hard. So
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand that, and this also becomes a big thing when you're at a workplace and you know that these things are going to happen and you expect it, and expecting is definitely is under our control, and I'm pretty sure most of the people
Mm-hmm.
can do that. So that's wonderfully said, Alina, and I really respect all the opinions which you're putting in, and I'm pretty sure all the audiences are all the listeners over here are getting some great value after this conversation. So, audience, make sure to share it with your loved ones as well, and don't be a lone gainer. I mean, you can always share and spread love, and that would make me happy because the podcast rating will increase. However, getting back to this episode, Elena, there is one question, as I mentioned, from the community as well. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it has been asked by Ankita. Her name is Ankita. So, Ankita, first of
Okay.
all, thank you so much for asking this question. So, Ankita has asked me that she is preparing herself for one of the most toughest exams in India, and that is Chartered Accountant Final Examination, which
Mm-hmm.
which is a really difficult exams, one of the most difficult exams in India. And she has been studying whole year, but in the last couple of months she hasn't been focusing. Most of her time goes into mobile phones, scrolling Instagram reels, and
Mm.
she knows that she needs to study, but she's not able to study. You know, hours and hours just goes into Instagram reels. So do you have something to say to her so that she can gain back control over her studies as well?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is those are all distractions or methods of procrastinating. And what I would say is that she's directing that energy because she has the energy to do something and she's choosing the energy to do something that's not productive versus something that is productive, or at least not productive towards what she wants to be productive with, right? Going
Yeah.
on social media could be productive for something else, but not for this example. Um, so I would say when that thought or feeling comes up that I don't want to study, I want to go on Instagram or I want to scroll reels or, whatever that feeling is, I would say instead of doing that, lean into that discomfort or lean into that voice that's saying, I don't want to study. And rather than using that energy for Instagram, use the energy to uncover what it is that feels uncomfortable about studying or what part of her is telling her to not study or tells her she doesn't feel like studying. Because that lack of alignment is because there's something that subconsciously or unconsciously there's a lack of alignment subconsciously or unconsciously. And so we need to get that alignment in order to achieve our goals, which is where that neuroplasticity comes in, right? And even
Right.
just doing some of that self reflection on your own can help to rewire the brain in a more positive way. So even if you do some reflecting, you think about it, you see, what is my brain trying to tell me? What is it trying to indicate to me? Maybe it's fear of not passing the test. Maybe it's questioning if this is the right path for you, if this is the right decision to become, I think you said, an accountant, right? So maybe it's a fear, maybe it's anxiousness, maybe it's nervousness. I'm not here to say what it is because I don't know, only you know. And so do that deep thought. And then next time that feeling comes up of, I don't want to study, instead of going on Instagram, do something else that's going to help you be productive. So maybe it's you sit at your desk and maybe you don't do anything. Maybe you don't touch your study materials, but you definitely don't look at your phone. Maybe you just sit here and you just sit in silence.
Hmm.
Maybe it's putting on clothes that will make you feel more productive, right? A lot of times people will wear pajamas to study if they're at home or at the library or somewhere cozy. So think of something that's going to, again, get you into that state of productivity and motivation, whether it's something physical, whether you say something to yourself, whether you watch it, right? And just do a small action and then you'll work yourself up to the big action, which is actually sitting down to study.
Wow, that's great tips. Thank you, Alina, so much. Although I have one tip as
Hmm.
well for you,
Yeah.
Ankita. What you can do is, and this is related to what Elena said as well, that you don't go to Instagram, but it's quite a thing which can't be resisted very easily. So what you can do is you can set a timer, and nowadays each and every smartphone has this timer that you can use Instagram for 5 minutes in a single session, and you can use it afterwards after 2 hours only. So you can set that timer for 5 minutes, and once the 5 minutes are over, your Instagram app will automatically close. Okay, which will bring you back in reality rather than living in the world of social media. So that is one thing which I would suggest. If you cannot resist it, make sure that you have a control on it and force stop it. Let your mobile phone and let the technology forcibly stop it so that you do just scroll for hours and hours. So I hope that helps you out, Ankita, and I'm really hoping that you would do great in your exams. And I'm really hoping that you would let me know once your exams get completed and how it's going for you. So thank you so much again, Ankita, for asking this question. Moving ahead, Elena, and this is the last question for today's episode, I promise, and that would be, as you are a career coach as well. Okay, I feel this is one question which I have to ask you, and that is for the people who are making a career shift. Okay, like previously they were in something else and now they want to switch their career, and during the transition period, there are lots and lots of hard work. There is lots and lots of work to do, and in that time being productive is little difficult. So what are some things or couple of things which you would like to say for the people who wants to make a career shift?
Yeah. So I would say this is a big example of doing things that might feel like they're making progress towards your goal, but they may not actually be productive. So
Hmm.
so I guess the first thing is if you're making a transition, figure out what that transition is and make sure you feel good about it. So spend a good amount of time deciding and making that choice. When you go to update your materials, so your resume, your LinkedIn, your cover letter, make sure that when you're doing that overhaul, you do research beforehand or you hire someone like me to make sure that you're making the right updates and you're making the necessary updates to articulate your transition. I have a lot of clients come to me that try to make the transition and they say they spent hours searching, applying to jobs, and changing their resume, but they weren't doing the right things on their resume. And then, therefore, when they apply, they are using a resume that's not good, that's not really showcasing who they are and why this transition will be seamless. And so they may think that that's productive, but because they don't have the expertise on job searching, like in the way that I do, it's not as productive as it may seem to them. So whether you are transitioning careers or really for anything else in your life, think about, is there a professional or a subject matter expert that I can learn from as part of my research phase before I go and do, so that my doing is the most productive it can be, again, with my time and my brain power and energy. So whether you consult me or someone else, just make sure you do that research. And I would say the biggest tip for career searchers or career transitioners, excuse me, to actually be productive with your time is to look at all your skills, look at all the skills of the job that you want to go into, identify ways that you can connect the two, and then on your resume, speak about the skills that you currently have through the lens of the future job. So, for example, I've worked with a lot of teachers recently, teachers that teach kids in the classroom that want to work at a company doing learning or training for new employees.
Right.
A lot of those skills are the same skills, yet the words that we use in a school setting and an academic setting are very different from the words that a company uses. So it's just, I have the right skills. I just need to understand how to articulate them to a different audience and in a different context. And if you can do that on your resume, on your LinkedIn, on your cover letter, and especially in the interview, that's one of the most productive things that you can do.
Well, that's amazingly said. And listeners, I would like to tell you this thing. If you want to uh, go back few episodes and listen to, make a perfect resume, Elena has shared that as well. So you can go back a few episodes and listen to that episode as well, for specifically for making a perfect resume. So there is a link in the description. You can always click on that. And if you want Elena to be your career coach, I have mentioned the links in the description. So you are just a click away from her. So make sure to do that. However, Alina, I always say that this is going to be the last question, I promise, but now this one would
It's
be the
okay.
last. Okay. And that would be, if you can share a story about your first client, when they came to you and what they are doing right now, if you can share a bit search about it.
My first client. I don't or even I have to think about who that even was.
Wow, so many
Um,
clients, huh?
yeah, I mean, well, I had my first client for a resume. I had my first client for a whole package. I had my first client for a leadership workshop, for
Wonderful.
I guess all the different services that I offer. I had a different first client for each.
Hmm.
But I will say my first resume client that I remember, she's since come back to me to update her resume since we worked on it. And she's continued to grow in her role and change companies. She's on a sales path, so she's just continued on that sales path. That's what she wanted. Let me think. My first coaching client that I worked with over multiple months, same with him. He's reached out to me a couple of times. He has significantly increased his salary after he and I worked together, and he's continued to grow as well in his role. And he was in writing and transitioned into marketing, and he's continued to grow in that field. So it's really nice to see people continue to grow and stay connected and what they do over the years, because a lot of times I don't always know what they end up doing or, how things evolve. So it is nice when they do reach out or when I see a little update on LinkedIn or something like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's pretty amazing, and I'm pretty sure you must be having a good sleep every night, adding values in people's life. I mean, I can completely relate with it as I am a teacher right now, so I teach programming languages to students, and when they score good, in college exams and in life, it gives a good amount of pleasure to me as well. So I can completely relate
Yes.
with that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lena. And I'm pretty sure it has given a lot of value to the listeners of this show as well. So, people of this podcast, what you can do is you can share this podcast episode with lots of other people and spread the love. And we will see you in the next episode. So, thank you so much for listening to it. And we are going to see you in the next episode, in the very first episode in the of the new season. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. See you in the next one. Till then, peace out.